Teddy B, who is now a Carolina Panther, is taking over that Cam Newton role. And right away, to me, this just screams stability in the Panthers offense. I see a slight bump for everybody, especially over Kyle Allen. Even though I think Allen was fine for a filler, we've seen what he is. And you look at Teddy Bridgewater in those 5 games early in the Saints season that he started, he had a 68% completion percentage. So Kyle Allen's was 62%. So you think right there, that's already an improvement. Putting up about 228 yards per game, 1.5 touchdowns per game, and 15 fantasy points per game. So I actually see Teddy as kind of a fantasy streamer at the quarterback position, kind of like a guy like Rivers or Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield in 2019, even Sam Darnold, and a lot of people were streaming him towards the end of last year. I see him in that tier in this offense, and then I see all the weapons getting a bump. From McCaffrey, yes, I think everybody's expecting a regression. I am as well, but he's still, to me, the clear 101. DJ Moore, I expect his progression to continue. The same way Teddy was hyper-targeting Michael Thomas in New Orleans, I expect that to go DJ Moore's way. It's just kind of that wide receiver one, that alpha dog, and that passing attack. And I do actually expect a slight bump to Curtis Samuel as well, just because it'll be a better offense, more stability. I don't think he becomes the next great deep threat, but I do think he will be better than he has been, which has been a guy that you can plug in as a flex play on certain weeks. What's really interesting to me, and Alex, I'd like to hear your input on this. What happens now with the 82 vacated targets that Greg Olsen has left moving over to the Seahawks? So, any thoughts on that?
I mean, in regards to the tight end position, Ian Thomas has showed a lot of promise in the past. I expect him to kind of slide right into that role and take most of that target share. He's got some sleeper appeal in fantasy football. He's definitely been a guy over the past couple of years where you've been able to stream him and get solid performances. Even when Olsen's missed, Ian Thomas has been able to absorb a lot of that target volume. So I do expect Ian Thomas to slide into that role. This offense, as far as the weapons go, should be fairly consistent. And like you said, I think DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel both see a step up. We've talked a lot about Curtis Samuel and how many snaps he played and how many routes he ran. I think, didn't he run the most routes in the NFL last season?
Yes,
Steph,
he was number one.
if I'm wrong, but
he was number one.
I mean, Teddy's a huge upgrade from what they had last season and Kyle Allen. And playerprofile.com does a really interesting stat called danger plays. And what they describe a danger play as is any play in which the quarterback lacked awareness or took an unnecessary risk that could have resulted in a turnover. And
Oh, no.
Kyle Allen was number 4 in danger plays last season. So, I mean, not trying to hate on Kyle Allen too much, but he was just thrown in a situation that was a little bit, too much of a task for him to handle. I think he's going to be a fine backup in the NFL, but I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is clearly just a huge step up. This is awesome for Teddy. It can't be any happier for him. I've got the Bridgewater jersey behind me from Minnesota. It's a 3-year, $63 million deal with $33 million guaranteed. After the career-threatening injury he had and then serving as a backup to Drew Brees, it's just awesome to see him slide right back into a starting role. Super excited to see what he does there. And like you said, I think Teddy's a great fantasy streamer. Most of those weapons on that offense get a little bit of an upgrade. And for me, one of the bigger takeaways is Christian McCaffrey. There's no reason he shouldn't get 100 receptions again this season. Teddy loves taking what the defense gives him. He had a 68% completion percentage last season in his 9 games, and I think he's going to be perfectly fine dumping the ball to McCaffrey at the line of scrimmage or just beyond the line of scrimmage and letting McCaffrey do the work for him. He's someone that's done that throughout his entire career. We saw it this past year when he filled in with Alvin Kamara, and I think he's going to be perfectly content just taking what the defense gives him and letting the game come to him, which is something that this Carolina Panthers offense hasn't really had last season with Kyle Allen, but even before that with Cam Newton. Forcing some things down the field. So I'm really excited. I think this Panthers offense is going to be much better this season. I still think the defense has some work to do. I don't necessarily think they're a playoff contender at this point, but this should be a huge step up for that team and that organization.
Absolutely. I think he's a guy, Bridgewater, when he comes in, he's a fan favorite. All players love him. He's a locker room guy. And yeah. I really do think he's going to make an impact on the organization. He's just going to bring stability to an offense that's having some churn, some turnover, and some uncertainty looking into the future, and he comes in and really is able to be that solid foundation, especially with that new head coach. It'll be interesting to see what that offense is going to look like in terms of, how many RPOs are they going to run? We know Rule likes the RPO. What is it going to look like in terms of volume for McCaffrey? Are they still going to give it to him, 20 times a game on the ground and with the touches through the air? So that'll be something we'll monitor as we get closer to the season.